Hello, crafty friends, and welcome back. I am playing along today with Mixed Media Mayhem. We are to be using packaging technique, watercolors, and stitching. And I kind of cheated. I forgot the stitching, but I'll explain that here in a little bit. So here is where my watercoloring comes in. These are a Prima set of watercolors. I got it off of Amazon. They are metallic colors. And I am actually making Halloween cards for my great nieces and nephews. So I usually send out 5 cards per year to each one of them, and I include a $2 bill. And just my way of still making cards and kind of keeping up with each of them and continuing to use some of my supplies that I love to use. So here is where I have definitely met the watercoloring prompt. And so I am painting on some watercolor paper and just kind of making some different designs that I can use for backgrounds on my cards here. So here's where my packaging technique comes in, and I was trying to use Wilted Violet, the Spritz color, and really it just kind of looked muddy on this card, so I did kind of mop most of that up here. And so then here I try and add some of the citron color, and yeah, I still don't love it, but I do end up using it and it looks fine. But it's not my favorite background. So but I did meet the second prompt of using the packaging technique. So here now you can see I'm starting to pick out items to use on each of these first 4 cards that I am creating. So just pulled out some of my older Halloween stash, and I did get a few things. I had purchased a Simple Stories mystery box a while back, and so I did get a 6x8 paper pad from a collection from a couple years ago, as well as, I still have some older Halloween from when my daughter was young. So, and some of these things are newer too, that now that I have a grandson, I've been documenting his Halloween the last 2 years. And so that's been fun to have something to scrapbook for Halloween again. And still using up some of the old stuff. But here, so I'm starting to put the cards together. And I guess I will kind of back up here to the stitching part, that I was doing this really late at night one night, and I really just kind of got rolling on some of these things. And once I finished up all 8 cards, so these are just the first 4, and then the second half of the video is going to have the other 4 cards coming up. And honestly, I just got moving and grooving with the watercolors and using my inks and things like that, that I totally forgot about the stitching part. And I wrote out my notes to each of my great nieces and nephews, sealed up the cards, and put them in the mailbox before I even realized that, oops, I forgot to do any stitching. So probably the closest thing to stitching I have is on one of the later cards, that there is a Frankenstein design on there, and I believe Frank has some stitching on his head. So yeah, it doesn't really count. But I did create these with the inspiration, at least from the first 2 prompts. So as you can see, I'm still kind of moving through. These were actually stickers, and so when I'm trying to just dry fit some of my pieces or audition them, that I do like to use some of my older clear sticker sheets and put my stickers on there while I am making sure that everything is going to fit and looks how I want it to. So got my 2 little scary coffin people there on my clear sticker sheet, and just measuring. And here I actually almost forgot to cut down the watercolor paper here. So that was a close call, but I did discover it in time to do it before I got everything stuck down completely. So just coming back in here, adding a few more bits and pieces to this particular card. And then here I do have a few Echo Park stickers here still left to use from collection. I think that one came out last year. So there is that card. And then here is that background that I'm not real fond of. And so here I'm just trying to figure out a good background for my card. I do decide to use this gray color, which is from one of the 6x8 paper pads that I got from the Simple Stories mystery box. And just trimming down my circle now, and I am going to cover up the flat side so it kind of looks like it is a rising moon, even though it's purple. That's kind of the decorating idea that I'm coming up with, because then I did originally have this cat pulled out to use on there, and then for some reason I pull out another sticker sheet to look for something, and I find this witch, which is a foam sticker sheet from Simple Stories, and so I decided to do that instead. So just add those few little bits and bobs here and calling that one good. And so here now I'm starting on the last 4. Actually, I end up making 5 cards, I think. I start out thinking I'm going to make my typical 8, and then I decide that I'm going to make a card to send to my mom for Halloween as well, since I had some extra stuff out here. So this little card says Best Witches, and so I did decide to pull out the witch sticker to go along with that. And here you can see that I do, instead of doing the mixed media with the watercolors, that I decided for the last 4 or 5 cards that I'm going to use my distress inks. And so I pull out some stencils and decide to on this one just do a couple little techniques here through using 2 different colors of purple to give me that variance, and then I kind of go over with a lighter touch first, and then in a couple areas I go with a little tougher touch, more pressure to get a little more deeper color in that particular area. And really on this one, I just add a couple of enamel shapes on there, and I do decide to bring out this pumpkin. Is it carved pumpkin something? It's a distress mica spray. And so here I bring out my blending brushes, and I'm using 3 different colors. I believe it's fossilized amber in the middle, something honey. I can't remember what that middle one is. And then the darker orange is crackling campfire. And so I don't do this very often, and so this was I could really use some work on my technique with the blending. But by the time I actually get everything on the card, that it actually evens out pretty good, that it you can't tell all of the splotchiness, and I knew a lot of that was going to get covered up anyway, so I wasn't overly concerned about the big blob in the upper right hand corner, and that the edges were not completely smooth and blended out. So there is that one. And then this one I really kept it pretty simple, that I just use my blending brush to go around the outside, and then I use a piece of paper to use as my cover of the card. So really this was just kind of to give a color tone on tone inky matte for the card there. So, and this one I just again trimmed down that card. It says ghouls just want to have fun, and I do ink the outside with is it wild honey? I think that's the color of that ink there. So I did use that, add the pumpkin, and I do come in and use a few enamel dots here, and I do get a few packages used up here, and am able to consolidate a few of them as well. And so this is actually my favorite background that I used creating. This is the Tim Holtz. These are the smaller stencils that come in the pack of 3, and I don't know what number it is because I have pulled mine out a long time ago and just have them all separately. But I did use those same 3 colors of inks. No, I take that back. That I do use crackling campfire, wild honey, and rusty hinge, and just give a varied look to my brick wall. And hopefully you saw there real quick how I did each of the outsides and then I tried to blend in the middle, and actually it worked out pretty good that you cannot see where those each of the 3 came together. It also helps that I have the big piece there in the middle that kind of covers up where all of the stencil seams came together if they were not perfectly matched up here. So again, this is where you could potentially say I maybe met the stitching requirement by the stitching on Frank's head, but yeah, that's pretty lame. So you could also, I could have stitched right there too, but really I just used my ink pen as well. So there were stitching opportunities on these. I just wasn't even thinking about it. So adding enamel dots to some of my cards here, and here are the close-up shots. So if you have any questions for me, please feel free to leave those down below. I will have a link for the playlist for Mixed Media Mayhem, so go check it out and see what everybody else did. See if everybody else met all of the requirements or if they were like me and missed one. So thank you for stopping by, and we will see you next time. Bye.